Hello there fellow dazzlers and new players alike, WrestleJoestar here bringing you the first tutorial video of hopefully many for arcade games. Today we're going to be going over Galaga, Namco's epic space shoot 'em up. So this is just going to be a basic video, so no crazy super advanced strategies. This is aimed mainly at people who are rediscovering the game, who want to get into it, who may have just discovered it or whatever. So that being said, let's get into it. So first we're going to go over the very basics of the game. How do you play this thing? Well, it's very easy. As you can see, you move to left or right and have a button to shoot aliens. It's 1 to 2 players and you alternate. So when one player gets vaporized, it switches to the other. And as you can see, the objective is shoot the aliens while dodging ships and enemy fire. You lose a life every time a ship is captured by a boss Galaga, every time you're shot, and every time you crash into an enemy ship. You lose the game when all ships are gone, and you can get extra lives at 20,000, 70,000, and then every 70,000 points thereafter. Most stages are pretty much straightforward where you're shooting at aliens, but there are bonus stages every 3 stages, except for the first bonus stage, or challenging stage, that comes after your first 2 stages. And then after that, it's every 3 stages. So, second we have maneuvering and aiming. You want to master control of your ship. I mean, yeah, it's pretty obvious, but still. Get a good handle on your controller or the arcade stick or whatever, and learn how to weave in and out of enemy fire, because things will get crazy. Things will get fast, things will get nuts. You want to learn how to move in and out of enemy fire, learn how to dodge the shots, the sweeps, everything. Practice is going to be one thing that'll help you out. And keep track of what's going on. Don't only focus on your ship. Don't only keep eyes on them. Keep focus on everything. Kind of just dart your eyes around the battlefield and see what's going on, because anticipation is a great weapon. If you go, okay, oh man, there's those 2 wasps that are coming down, 2 hornets are coming down at me, okay, I can anticipate that they're going to shoot at me, they're going to do the loop-de-loop thing, so you can, and we'll get to that later, but you can use that to help plan out what you're going to do. The thing too also is watch out for corners. It's tempting for new players, and even myself, to stick in the corners because you can be safe from enemies that swoop down. However, shots move at an angle, so if you're going to use the corners, be careful, because you could trap yourself. An enemy could, group of 3 enemies could shoot shots at you, and boom, you're vaporized, because another enemy is dive bombing, and you don't have the space to move out of that corner without hitting something. And of course, obviously, you want to learn how to aim. That's kind of a good thing. But also because you only get 2 shots per ship, which means that once you fired your 2 shots, you gotta wait until one of those shots clear before you can fire again. And yeah, it only takes but like half a second for a shot to clear, but this is a game where those half seconds really count. So keep track of that. Learn how to lead your shots as well. This means when an enemy fighter is coming down, kind of like learn how fast your shots take, so you can go, okay, here comes the enemy. It's going to take me about that long for a shot to travel, so boom, there you go. This is also very important when it comes to your fighters being captured by boss Galagans, because if you lead your shot wrong, you'll plug your friend and lose your ship and only get a measly 1,000 points. Accuracy is also important in the challenging stages, because that's where you can really rake in some big points. As you'll see later, challenging stages can give you just bagfuls of points if you're good at it. So, next you want to learn thy enemy. Learn how the enemy fighters move in. Butterflies, those little red guys, that's what I call them, they'll swoop down. They'll do like little wavy patterns, they'll move at angles, fire some shots at you, and go down off the bottom of the screen. They don't really do much tricks. Hornets, those little bee-looking dudes, those little yellow guys, they'll swoop down, but when they get to the bottom of the screen, they'll do a loop, and then swoop back off the bottom of the screen, so watch out for that. You don't want to dodge that guy, only to move to the right and boom, crash into him. Galagans will swoop down as well and go off the bottom of the screen, but they also might move in for a tractor beam shot, and you can tell they're doing that because they'll swoop down, they'll shoot like, I think maybe like 2 or 3 shots, and they kind of do this little like slide thing. You'll learn to spot it soon enough. And when you see him doing that, he's going to tractor beam, so you can use that to anticipate when he's gonna tractor beam, whether or not you're trying to avoid him or whether or not you want to willingly get your ship captured, which can be a benefit, as we'll see later. Another thing too is if a Hornet transforms, which begins on stage 4, it'll become 3 fighters. So you see 3 little guys come out. Those 3 little guys will actually travel off screen with the lead transforming ship doing a loop-de-loop like the Hornet, and then he'll go back to the top of the screen and transform back into his normal self, unless you've shot enough to where enemies will just keep coming down at you. If you destroy enough enemies, the remainders will just keep flying down at you. At that case, the transformed ship won't come back. Now, you got to be careful though, because with the yellow and red Galaxian flagships, he will actually send 2 guys quickly, boom, down at you. They will beeline down the screen, and then the other guy will follow behind. So be careful for that. That caught me off guard the first time it happened. And another thing too is learn to read and memorize the incoming ships at the beginning of waves. They'll all have these little entrance patterns that you can recognize and use for anticipation. Again, one of the best weapons that you can use is going to be anticipation. So learn how to memorize those and put them to use. We're not going to go over all of these little formations because it will take far longer than need to be. I think that's more for an advanced thing. And besides, the more you play the game, the more you kind of memorize these patterns. So watch out. Also, watch out for dive bombers on stage 4. These guys will peel off from the main formation as it's forming and come down at you. The good thing about these guys is even if you dodge them, they won't rejoin the pack, so that's one less enemy you have to deal with. But the further you get along, the more crazier and fast they get, and boss Galagans will start coming down at you too. Remember, those guys take 2 shots to vaporize. Next, you want to learn how to double up. So I've mentioned before that your ship can get tractor beam. They can get captured by the boss Galaga. However, if you free him, you can get 2 fighters, double the firepower at double the size, which means your hitbox is larger, but it's worth the risk because you can just totally mow over enemies with these guys. Like, remember how I said there's those beginning formations? If you've got 2 ships and you got those formations down, you can pretty much wipe the board almost completely with 2 ships. Now, how do you do this? Well, allow your ship to get captured by a boss Galaga while having at least 2 lives. Remember, if you're on your last life and you get tractor beamed, it's game over. Don't do that. Then what you gotta do is wait. Play the waiting game. You gotta wait for the boss Galaga to swoop down with your captured fighter and then vaporize that guy, and you'll have your second fighter back. And he'll kind of do this spinning around thing and rejoin you. If there's enemies diving around, your ship will continue to spin around, and you can't hurt him at this point, and he can't get hurt. And if you've got some time and enemies are still kind of trying to find a way back in the formation, use it to shoot and take out some enemies before you double back up. Once you have that, again, double firepower, which is way worth it because you can just take out tons of enemies. So it's actually recommended by a lot of folks to get good at dodging with playing with 2 fighters. So you want to make sure that you learn how to dodge and weave with 2 fighters as well as 1 fighter, so you can rack in those points. And these guys are pretty much all but a requirement for the challenging stages. Challenging stages get so much more easier when you have 2 fighters, so learn to know when 1 is coming so you can double up if you're running a single fighter. Now, with the first few challenging stages, it's going to be easy to knock them out with 2 fighters, but as you'll see when you play, you'll need to learn how to maneuver and fire and do cool things to shoot those guys that are doing these neat little carnival tricks. So lastly, we have some scoring tips. Learn how to get those points. Remember, extra lives at 20,000, 70,000, and then afterwards 70,000, every 70,000 points afterwards. You want to have those double fighters for those challenging stages, because that will really help you out. Because if you get a perfect, that is, you shoot all the enemy ships in a challenging stage, you net big points. And we'll go over points and that later. And you want to make sure, speaking of, remember those escort ship guys? You want to make sure you shoot them all before they get off the bottom of the screen. Or at least those first 2 guys. If you shoot those first 2 guys and then plug the lead ship before it joins back with the horde, you'll be good. Also, as a reminder, if remember I said earlier, if you shoot enough enemies to where they're just continuously coming at you, that lead ship won't transform back, so you pretty much got a clear shot to get your free points. And you get different values depending on what the enemy is doing. You can get different points depending on whether they're in formation or whether they're diving at you. And with the boss Galagan, if he's just coming at you, it's less points than if he's got 1 or 2 escorts. So let's go over the different points you can nail and what those values are. So for Hornets, when they're in formation, 50 points. When they dive down at you, 100 points. The Butterflies, when they're in formation, is only 80 points. When they dive down at you, 160 points. I think this is because they're a little bit more higher up. So, for the boss Galaga, when they're in formation, 150 points. Remember, they take 2 shots. When they dive down at you alone, it's 400 points. With 1 escort, 800 points. 2 escorts, 1600 points. And remember, if you make the unfortunate accident of killing your friendly fighter, it's 1000 points. Here we go for the challenging stages. If you manage to completely destroy one group of enemies in your first and second challenging stages, it's 1000 points. One group of enemies in the third and fourth challenging stages, 1500 points. One group of enemies in the fifth and sixth challenging stages, 2000 points. And one group of enemies in the seventh and subsequent challenging stages, 3000 points. And you can net yourself a handsome reward of 10,000 points if you manage to destroy all enemies and get that perfect in a challenging stage. If you shoot a transforming ship by itself individually, it's 160 points. And the three main guys you're going to find are scorpions, those Bosconian ships, those little green guys, and Galaxian flagships. So if you destroy all the transform formation, for scorpions it's 1000, Bosconians 2000, and Galaxian flagships 3000 points. So remember, get those point values down, learn how to maximize that score so you can keep playing, keep shooting, keep doing your thing. And I think that's going to just about wrap this up. Like I said, this is a basic tutorial to kind of get you guys into the game if you haven't played it before or are looking for a basic primer on what to do. When I get good enough at the game, I'll definitely do an advanced tutorial showing off some more things, or maybe something going more in depth. Like I mentioned, there's specific formations, there's different challenging stages, so I've only actually seen I think 3 or 4 of the challenging stages myself, so that's why. So that is about it. Let me know what you think. Is there anything I missed that I should have covered, that I should do a follow-up video on? Was I annoying? Was I okay? Please let me know. I would love any kind of feedback so I can make these really awesome for you guys, because part of arcade appreciation on my channel is bringing back the arcade, and I feel like doing these little tutorial videos can be a great way of doing that, because what use is it showing off the arcade games if I'm not going to help you guys get, help people who might be discovering these games for the first time find their way around. Nobody wants to sit down and waste 30 to 40 minutes trying to figure out things when I can just do a quick 20-30 minute video saying, hey, here's the basics, and get you guys on your way. So again, let me know what you think, please, pretty please. And if you want to catch me playing this game, right there, boom, there's a card. You can catch my arcade appreciation of this game, and where you can see me fail and even plug a poor fighter of my own. This footage was actually taken from that playthrough, so you can check that out with my commentary. And remember, rate, comment, and subscribe for more arcade madness, more arcade tutorials, and more cool things I'm going to have later on down the pipeline. My name is Roster Joestar. Thank you for watching, guys, and I will see you all on the next Starfighter mission. Take care, everybody. See ya.